The Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, CPA, at its 64th Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference held in Kampala, Uganda, from 22nd to 29th September 2019 under the theme Adaptation, Engagement and Evolution of Parliaments in a Rapidly Changing Commonwealth, considered, among other topics in the Small Branches session, climate change and the possible effects on CPA and small branch economies and development. The meeting led to the endorsement of 3 recommendations in order to mitigate the impact of climate change. 1. Parliaments must foster dialogue which leads to mechanisms for building resilience of small island states adapting to climate change which adversely affect GDP. 2. Parliamentarians have a critical role in raising awareness of climate change while developing appropriate policies and legislation to protect the environment and human rights. And 3. Parliamentarians should participate in initiatives and programs by United Nations bodies that facilitate mitigation and adaptation policies, climate finance and technology in small island states. The CPA Zambia Branch, with support from the Forestry Department, has joined in the call to establish the Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference CPC Forest project.
This is a very good initiative, and I think the department will be available to actually work with the parliamentarians at any time when we are called. We can be able to provide the seedlings. We have more than 1 million seedlings countrywide now. So even as the parliamentarians, as they are going out there in the constituencies, as I indicated in my remarks, they are free to go and engage the provincial forest officers. They will be able to guide them in terms of what species to plant, because it's important to also identify the right species. Because if you plant the wrong species, you can plant the tree here and then you find that these buildings may actually be affected because of the roots.
Speaker of the National Assembly of Zambia, the Right Honourable Mr. Justice Dr. Patrick Matibini, State Council, led members of the CPA Zambia Branch in the tree planting exercise at the grounds of Parliament buildings on 23rd November 2020. He then had this to say.
We need to recognize that one of the global challenges that we are facing is climate change. And this climate change, to some degree, is associated with deforestation. So this project is a reminder, especially to parliamentarians, that apart from lamenting about climate change, we should also begin looking at a panacea to this challenge. And I believe this is one effective panacea, namely that we should all be actively engaged in reforestation of our various areas. This is just the beginning, and I'll say a little more in the course of this particular meeting. We hope that beyond this particular meeting, beyond CPA, we can also engage our membership, parliamentarians, to ensure that they take up this challenge seriously.
Other members of Parliament joined in the tree planting exercise, beginning with Mr. George Mwamba, Lubansenshi Member of our Parliament. Then followed Mr. Ambrose Lufuma, Kabompo Member of Parliament, and Mr. Kapelwa Mbangweta, Nkeyema Member of Parliament. Kasempa Member of Parliament, Ms. Brenda Tamba, and Chimba Milonga Member of Parliament, Mr. Hastings Chansa, were next. Mr. Robert Lihefu, Member of Parliament for Manyinga, was joined by Luampa Member of Parliament, Mr. Makozos Chikote, to also plant a tree. Then followed Chilumi Member of Parliament, Mr. Mulenga Fube, who was joined by Mr. Stephen Kawimbe, Principal Clerk, Public and International Relations at the National Assembly of Zambia, to plant a tree on behalf of the CPA General Secretary, Mr. Stephen Twig. At the end of the planting exercise, Mr. Ignatius Makumba, Director, Forestry Department in the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, had this to say.
One of our mandate is to provide extension services. So in providing those extension services, we are supposed to reach out to all stakeholders And this is a very good initiative which the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources will support. Like the Honorable Speaker indicated, the Forestry Department may not be everywhere on the ground. We have a situation where probably in a district we only have 3 or 4 officers, and then for these officers they have a lot of challenges in terms of transport and lack of adequate resources, that we believe that this partnership with parliamentarians will go a long way in reaching out to the people, because the parliamentarians are out there in the constituencies. They speak to the people most of the time, they visit the people most of the time. So what we are hoping that when they go out in their constituencies, as they speak to the people, even as we look at 2021, when as they are campaigning, we expect that one of the agenda items would be to tell the people about the importance of tree planting, because we cannot avoid recognizing the importance of trees, because they provide a lot of benefits for us. We are facing climate change now. It's because most of our land is bare. Issues of flooding, issues of droughts. It's because the rainfall pattern has completely changed, because when there are trees there, they are able to capture the water. It's allowed to sink and then evaporate, using the normal scientific principles. But where there are no trees, you find that most of the water is washed down, soil is washed down, then agricultural lands also are affected. So you find that agricultural productivity is also affected. So we want to partner with the parliamentarians and see how we can promote this initiative. And the department so far, as at October 30th, we have more than 1 million seedlings which we have raised in all the provinces. And we are encouraging the parliamentarians to go out and reach out to the forest officers in the provinces and undertake these tree planting activities.